You ever wonder why the nicest people always seem to end up exhausted, disappointed, and taken for granted? Why the ones who show up for everyone rarely have anyone show up for them? There's a reason for that. Because somewhere along the line, they were taught that being friendly was the same as being good. That smiling through disrespect meant maturity. That always saying yes was what kind people do. But what if I told you that being too friendly might be the very thing holding you back from being respected, valued, and truly at peace? What if I told you that the reason you feel drained after every conversation, every favor, every sure I'll help is because your kindness is leaking into the wrong hands? Listen closely. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about understanding that your warmth has value, and when you give it freely to everyone, it loses its meaning. You don't need to be friendly to everyone to prove you're a good person. You just need to be real. Too often we confuse friendliness with strength, but there's a quiet danger in being the person who can never say no, who laughs off discomfort, who forgives before someone even apologizes. You end up teaching people that your boundaries don't matter. You end up making others comfortable while you're silently uncomfortable. You think being friendly will protect you from conflict, but it doesn't. It only attracts the wrong kind of people. The ones who sense your softness and see it as an opportunity. The ones who take your empathy as permission. The ones who know you won't walk away, even when they've crossed every line. And deep down, you know it's true. You felt that sting when you were too kind, too available, too understanding, and they still walked away. Still used you, still disrespected you. And you stood there wondering, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. You just gave your power to people who never earned it. It's time to take that back. It's time to stop being too friendly and start being real, aware, and intentional. Because not everyone deserves your smile. Not everyone deserves your yes. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. The truth is, being too friendly might be the reason people overlook you, underestimate you, and use you. But the moment you learn to guard your energy, to say no without guilt, and to stop trying to please everyone, that's the moment you reclaim your strength. You weren't created to be everyone's comfort zone. You were created to walk in power, not people-pleasing. So today, this message isn't about changing who you are. It's about protecting what's sacred, your peace, your time, and your self-respect. Because the world doesn't need another overly friendly person pretending to be fine. It needs strong, aware souls who know when to give and when to step back. When you grow up, being told to be nice, it sounds harmless, even noble. You're taught to be polite, to smile, to help, to say yes when people ask something of you. You learn to make others feel comfortable, even when it costs you your own comfort. And over time, this becomes who you are. The person everyone can rely on, the one who never says no, the one who's always there. But what you don't realize is that being too friendly slowly erases your boundaries. You stop noticing when people cross the line because you've trained yourself to make excuses for them. You tell yourself, it's fine, they didn't mean it. You minimize your own discomfort because you don't want to seem rude or selfish. And before you know it, your friendliness becomes a habit of self-betrayal. When you don't set boundaries, you invite people to define what's acceptable for you. They start taking a little more each time, a little more of your time, your energy, your patience, because you've shown them that there are no limits. And once someone learns that you'll tolerate anything, they'll stop respecting everything. That's how good, kind people end up feeling drained, used, and confused about why life feels so heavy. It's not because they're unlucky. It's because they forgot that kindness needs structure. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a liability. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're fences that protect what's valuable inside. Think about that. You wouldn't leave your home unlocked for anyone to walk into, right? Then why do you leave your emotional doors open to people who haven't earned your trust? When you say yes out of guilt, when you agree to things that make you uncomfortable, when you let disrespect slide just to avoid conflict, you're telling the world that your needs don't matter. You teach people that it's okay to put their comfort above your peace. And the truth is, the world will gladly take advantage of that. People will take what you offer until there's nothing left. And then they'll call you difficult when you finally try to reclaim your space. Being friendly is beautiful when it's genuine, but it becomes dangerous when it's constant. Not everyone deserves your openness. Not everyone deserves your availability. When you treat everyone like a friend, you strip the word of its meaning. Friendship, respect, and loyalty must be earned, not handed out like candy to anyone who smiles your way. You can be polite and still have boundaries. You can be warm without being a doormat. You can be kind without being consumed. Here's the thing. People respect what they can't easily access. If you're always available, always smiling, always ready to help, you lose a certain gravity. People start to take you for granted because they assume you'll always be there. Your absence never gets felt because your presence is constant. But when you learn to say no, when you draw lines and stand by them, people notice. They start to value your time because it's not freely given anymore. They begin to listen when you speak because you've shown that your words have weight. The fear of setting boundaries usually comes from a place of insecurity. The fear of being disliked, misunderstood, or judged. But here's a truth that might sting. Not everyone will like you, no matter how friendly you are. Some people will still criticize you, still use you, still talk behind your back, even after all your kindness. So why keep sacrificing your peace to please people who would never do the same for you? The ones meant to stay in your life won't leave because you set a boundary. They'll respect you more for it. The wrong ones will get offended. And that's how you know they were only benefiting from your lack of limit. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to you. You don't owe explanations for your boundaries. You don't owe your energy to every person who asks for it. It's okay to say no without guilt. It's okay to walk away without explaining yourself. It's okay to protect your peace without feeling selfish. The truth is, every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that could grow you. Start paying attention to how you feel after every interaction. If you walk away feeling lighter, that's connection. If you walk away feeling drained, that's a sign of an imbalance. Some people are only comfortable when you're small, quiet, and accommodating. The moment you stand up for yourself, they'll call you arrogant or rude. Don't fall for that manipulation. Boundaries don't make you rude, they make you real. They make you real. They separate who values you from who uses you. When you forget your boundaries, you forget your worth. You become someone's emotional sponge, soaking up their negativity, their demands, their chaos. You start to believe that being nice is your purpose, that keeping the peace is more important than protecting it. But peace that costs your self-respect is never real peace. You have to be willing to disappoint people in order to stay true to yourself. You have to be okay with being misunderstood because not everyone will understand the version of you that finally stands up for yourself. There's a quiet power that comes from learning to say no. It's not loud or aggressive. It's calm, steady, and confident. It's the voice that says, I choose me this time. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop explaining yourself to those who never listen. You stop pouring your energy into relationships that only survive on your effort. You finally start to see that your worth was never tied to how friendly you are, but to how firmly you stand in your truth. So stop apologizing for having standards. Stop shrinking your needs to fit into other people's expectations. Stop letting your friendliness be the reason you get stepped on. You are not here to please everyone. You are here to live in peace with yourself. Being too friendly might earn you approval for a moment, but it will cost you your authenticity in the long run. Choose yourself even when it feels uncomfortable, because when you honor your boundaries, you don't lose people who matter, you just lose the ones who never did. There's a certain type of person in this world, the giver, the one who feels deeply, helps instinctively, and loves without hesitation. The kind of person who sees someone struggling and immediately wants to fix it. They are the ones who go the extra mile even when no one else does. They're the shoulder to cry on, the late night listener, the one who shows up when others disappear. But here's the hard truth. Givers often attract takers. Because people who don't know how to stop giving usually end up surrounded by those who don't know when to stop taking. The danger of being a constant giver is that you start confusing generosity with obligation. You feel guilty for saying no, as if protecting your time or your peace makes you selfish. You believe that being a good person means always being available, always helping, always putting others first. But that belief will slowly destroy you. Because no matter how kind your intentions are, there are people who see kindness as an opportunity, not a virtue. They see your giving nature as free access, a resource they can drain until there's nothing left. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. It starts with small requests. A favor here, a bit of your time there. You agree because you don't want to seem unkind. You tell yourself, it's no big deal, but then it keeps happening. They start expecting it. They get comfortable with your yes. Before long, it's not a favor anymore. It's a routine. You've trained them to take without giving back. And every time you try to set a boundary, they act surprised or even offended, as if your time and energy belong to them. This is how givers burn out. Not because they stop caring, but because they start realizing that most people aren't giving back. It's a painful awakening that the same compassion you give to others, very few will ever return. You'll notice that the moment you need help, the crowd disappears. The phone stops ringing. The same people who had no problem asking you for support suddenly become too busy when you ask for theirs. That's when it hits you. You weren't surrounded by friends. You were surrounded by beneficiaries. There's a quiet loneliness that comes with being the strong one, the helper, the nice one, because people get used to taking from you, but they rarely stop to ask how you're doing. They assume you're fine because you make it look easy. They see your strength, not your exhaustion. They see your smile, not the moments you cry behind closed doors. And after a while, you start to internalize that pattern. You stop asking for help. You stop expecting others to care. You start believing that your worth is measured by how much you can give. But here's the truth. Giving has to come from overflow, not emptiness. You can't pour into others when your cup is empty. You can't keep rescuing people who have no intention of saving themselves. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Because when you keep rescuing people from the consequences of their choices, you stop them from growing. You end up carrying their load while they learn nothing. You exhaust yourself trying to make them comfortable while they learn that your comfort doesn't matter. There's a difference between being helpful and being used. Being helpful means giving when it's healthy, when it's mutual, when it's respected. Being used means giving when it's expected, when it's one-sided, when it drains you. And the saddest part, some people will never see the difference. They will manipulate your empathy with guilt. They'll say things like, "You're the only one I can count on," or "I thought you were my friend," just to keep you in the cycle. But manipulation wrapped in emotion is still manipulation. Don't let guilt keep you chained to people who only show up when they need something. You have to learn to recognize the difference between someone who values you and someone who uses you. The one who values you will appreciate your effort. Even when you can't give, they'll respect your boundaries. They'll give back in their own way, not because they have to, but because they care. The one who uses you will only show up when it benefits them. Their appreciation disappears the moment you stop giving. That's how you know who's real and who's not. Protecting your energy doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. You can still be kind, still be compassionate, and still say no. The truth is, you can't heal everyone. You can't fix every situation. And you don't have to feel guilty for that. It's not your job to save people who refuse to save themselves. Your job is to stay grounded, to protect your peace, to know when your giving turns into enabling. Because when you keep giving without balance, you start losing yourself piece by piece. You'll notice it in how tired you feel, how emotionally numb you become, how resentful you start to feel toward people you once cared for deeply. That resentment is your soul's way of telling you that you've been overgiving. It's not that you stopped caring. It's that you've been caring too much for people who never cared enough to meet you halfway. That's not love. That's emotional exhaustion disguised as loyalty. And sometimes the hardest thing a giver has to learn is to let people face their own consequences, to let them struggle, to let them figure it out, without stepping in to save them. Because every time you step in, you're teaching them that someone else will always do the hard work for them. You're teaching them dependency, not strength. True compassion isn't about doing everything for others. It's about empowering them to stand on their own. Start asking yourself, who refills me? Who checks on me? Who gives back when I give? If the answer is no one, it's time to realign. You can't keep building relationships where you're the only one showing up. You deserve reciprocity, not because you're keeping score, but because balance is what keeps love and respect alive. Stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. Stop apologizing for setting limits. You've given enough, helped enough, sacrificed enough. The people who truly value you will understand when you say you need rest. The ones who get angry when you stop giving, they were never with you, they were with what you provided. Remember this, being generous is a gift, but being used is a choice. You can still be a light without burning yourself out. You can still help others without losing yourself in the process. The right people won't need to drain you to feel supported. They'll bring light to your life just as much as you bring it to theirs. So from this moment forward, promise yourself this. You will no longer give to be accepted. You will no longer sacrifice your peace to prove your worth. And you will no longer pour into empty cups. Because the right people won't just take from your heart, they'll protect it too. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that not everyone is going to like you, no matter how kind, humble, or friendly you are. And for people who were raised to keep the peace, to make everyone happy, that truth feels uncomfortable. You've been trained to believe that being liked equals being worthy. That if everyone approves of you, you must be doing something right. But that mindset is dangerous because it makes your identity dependent on other people's opinion. And the moment you hand your self-worth to someone else, you give them power over your peace. Authentic confidence begins when you no longer need to be liked by everyone. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. The understanding that your value doesn't change based on someone's inability to see it. You stop twisting yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for you. You stop lowering your standards just to be accepted. You stop performing just to be seen, and the freedom that comes from that realization, it's unmatched. Because once you stop living for approval, you start living with purpose. The truth is, the desire to be liked comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. It's that voice inside that says, if they like me, I'm safe. But the irony is, chasing people's approval will always lead you to betrayal. Not theirs, but your own. You betray your truth every time you pretend to be okay when you're not. You betray your voice every time you stay silent to keep someone else comfortable. You betray your worth every time you accept less than what you deserve, just to stay light, and every act of self-betrayal chips away at your confidence until you no longer recognize yourself. You start living like a mirror, reflecting what others want to see instead of who you really are. You become adaptable, agreeable, predictable, a people pleaser. And at first, it feels good. You get validation, compliments, acceptance. But it's temporary because the moment you stop giving people what they want, that approval disappears. That's when you realize their love was never for you. It was for the version of you that kept them comfortable. Real confidence doesn't need validation to exist. It comes from knowing who you are, even when others don't understand you. It's standing tall in your truth, even if it means standing alone. It's not loud or showy, it's quiet, grounded, and consistent. Confidence is not about thinking you're better than anyone. It's about not comparing yourself to anyone. It's about being at peace with your flaws, your past, and your pace. The problem is that in today's world, people mistake approval for connection. They count likes instead of loyalty. They measure their worth through attention instead of authenticity. You can't build real confidence on something as fragile as public opinion, because one day they'll cheer for you, and the next day they'll criticize you, sometimes for the same reason. People's opinions are fickle. They'll change based on gossip, misunderstanding, or their own insecurities. If you keep building your self-worth around that, you'll spend your entire life chasing a moving target. You can tell a lot about your growth by how little you feel the need to explain yourself. When you're confident, You stop over-explaining your choices to people who have no business understanding them. You stop defending your boundaries to those who benefit from you not having any. You stop chasing closure from people who were never capable of giving it. Confidence is quiet because it no longer needs to prove anything. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real enough to accept imperfection. And yes, when you start showing up as your authentic self, some people will pull away. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being cold or distant, but you haven't changed. You've evolved. You've stopped performing for their approval. You've stopped saying yes to things that make you feel small. You've stopped letting people's comfort dictate your choices. The truth is, they weren't drawn to you. They were drawn to your compliance. Once you stop giving them that, their affection disappears. Let it, because their absence is not a loss. It's a clearing. Real confidence isn't about having everyone like you. It's about being okay when they don't. When you walk into a room knowing that your worth doesn't depend on anyone's reaction, that's power. When you can stay kind without letting people walk all over you, that's strength. When you can disagree without apologizing for your opinion, that's growth. You don't need to be aggressive or loud. Your calmness will speak louder than any performance. When you reach a place of self-respect, you start to see how often you used to give yourself away just to feel accepted. You realize how much peace you lost trying to maintain relationships that required you to shrink. You begin to understand that not everyone is meant to like you. And that's a blessing. Because if everyone likes you, it probably means you've never stood for anything. You've never drawn a line. You've never shown people who you truly are. The ones who are meant for you will like you for your authenticity, not your compliance. Stop trying to manage people's opinions of you. It's not your job. You can do everything right and still be misunderstood. You can speak truthfully and still be judged. You can give your best and still not be appreciated. So why waste your energy trying to please those who are committed to misunderstanding you? Let people think what they want. You don't owe anyone a diluted version of yourself to be accepted. When you stop seeking approval, something incredible happens. You start attracting people who respect your truth. You start building relationships that are based on depth, not convenience. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be announced. You start to realize that peace feels better than popularity. You start valuing solitude over superficiality. There's a freedom that comes from not needing everyone to like you. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, your purpose, your growth, your integrity. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of proving, performing, and pleasing. It allows you to live with intention instead of reaction. Confidence isn't built overnight. It's built every time you choose yourself when it would be easier to conform. Every time you speak up when silence feels safer. Every time you walk away from people who make you doubt your worth. That's how confidence is forged, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, but you still choose truth over approval. So let them misunderstand you. Let them whisper. Let them walk away. Because when the need to be liked dies, your power is reborn. You'll find that the fewer people you need to please, the stronger you become. You'll finally understand that confidence isn't about being liked. It's about being free. There's a certain presence that comes from self-respect, the kind of presence that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove, doesn't need to seek validation. It's quiet yet powerful. You can feel it when someone walks into a room and instantly commands attention without even trying. That kind of energy doesn't come from being overly friendly or eager to please. It comes from confidence, boundaries, and clarity. The moment you start being too friendly with everyone, you start watering down that presence. You give away your authority without even realizing it. When you're too friendly, people stop seeing you as a person to respect and start seeing you as someone they can test. It's not because you're weak or unworthy, it's because your behavior tells them you'll tolerate more than you should. You laugh at things that make you uncomfortable. You smile when you should be speaking up. You let people talk over you, dismiss you, interrupt you, and you say nothing because you don't want to seem rude. But here's the reality. Silence can often be mistaken for acceptance. Every time you let something slide, you teach others that they can do it again. Every time you try to stay nice instead of firm, you chip away at your own credibility. There's a balance between being kind and being respected. And too many people get stuck on the wrong side of that line. They think that by being friendly, they'll gain influence. But influence doesn't come from friendliness. It comes from presence. The people who command respect aren't the ones who say yes to everyone. They're the ones who know when to say no. They don't over-explain. They don't overshare. And they don't over-please. They know who they are and what they stand for. Being too friendly sends a message that you need something, approval, attention, belonging. And people pick up on that. They sense it. When you walk into a room trying to make everyone like you, you hand your power away before you even speak. True presence is about being grounded enough to not need everyone's approval. You can be approachable without being available to everyone. You can be polite without being overly accommodating. You can be warm without being weak. You've probably met people who are overly friendly at work. The ones who laugh at every joke, agree with every opinion, and constantly seek reassurance. At first they seem likable, but over time people stop taking them seriously. Why? Because friendliness without firmness feels desperate. It tells people that your desire to be liked outweighs your need to be respected. On the other hand, the person who stays composed, who doesn't rush to fill silence, who listens more than they speak, that person exudes authority. They don't demand respect, they earn it. Your presence is not just about how you look or speak, it's about the energy you carry. When you're always trying to please everyone, you dilute that energy. You lose the edge that makes people listen when you talk. You start second-guessing yourself, trying to tailor your personality to whoever is in front of you. But the moment you do that, you stop being authentic. And people can sense when someone is being inauthentic. They might like you, but they won't respect you. Respect comes from consistency, showing up the same way, regardless of who's watching. It's about knowing when to engage and when to pull back. It's about recognizing that not everyone deserves the same level of access to you. When you're too friendly, you give your energy away too freely. You start saying yes to things you shouldn't, taking on responsibilities that aren't yours, and letting people treat you casually when you should be treated professionally. And when you finally try to assert yourself, people get shocked because you train them to see you as soft, as agreeable, as someone who doesn't push back. You see, the more you try to make everyone comfortable, the less comfortable you become in your own skin. Being too friendly often comes from a fear of rejection, the fear that if you don't please people, they'll leave or dislike you. But here's the truth. The people who will leave because you stopped overextending yourself were never really with you to begin with. The ones who matter will respect you more when you show backbone. The ones who stay only when you're bending are the very ones you need to let go of. Authority doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity. People with authority don't need to dominate others. They simply know their worth. They speak with calm conviction, not desperation. They don't rush to fill silence with chatter. They let their presence do the talking. But if you're too busy trying to be everyone's friend, you'll never build that aura of command. You'll always be the one others lean on, but rarely the one they look up to. Sometimes being too friendly also blurs professional and personal boundaries. You start mixing relationships that should stay separate. You share too much of your personal life at work. You get emotionally invested in people who see you only as convenient. And when those boundaries get crossed, it's hard to regain control. People remember how you make them feel. And if your energy always screams, "I'm available," they'll treat you like a resource, not a person with limits. It's okay to be warm, but it's also okay to have an edge. That edge is what reminds people that while you're kind, you're not naive. That while you're understanding, you're not to be underestimated. You can smile and still mean business. You can show empathy and still command respect. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed. You can't earn respect by blending in. You earn it by standing firm. The next time you feel the urge to be overly friendly, Pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I feel like I have to? That question reveals everything. Real presence doesn't come from overcompensating. It comes from authenticity. It's okay if not everyone likes you. In fact, it's better that way. Because when everyone likes you, it often means you've compromised somewhere along the line. But when people respect you, even if they don't like you, it means you've stood for something. When you carry yourself with quiet authority, people adjust their tone around you. They think twice before disrespecting you. They value your time because you've shown that you value it yourself. That's what real power looks like. Not loud, not aggressive, but controlled. You don't have to prove who you are. You just have to be it consistently. So stop giving everyone easy access to your kindness. Start valuing your energy like currency. Because that's what it is. The more freely you spend it, the less it's worth. The moment you stop being too friendly, you'll notice something shift. People will listen differently, treat you differently, and most importantly, you'll start to feel different. You'll carry yourself with a confidence that doesn't need validation. You'll walk into rooms with the calm assurance of someone who knows who they are. That's real presence. That's real authority. Your energy is your most valuable currency. It's not money, not status, not followers. It's your energy. The way you think, feel, and show up in the world determines everything you attract and everything you allow. But too many people give their energy away like it's endless. They pour into everyone and everything, thinking kindness means accessibility. They try to fix, to please, to help, until they have nothing left for themselves. Protecting your energy doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means understanding that not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of you. It means realizing that your peace, focus, and emotional strength are sacred, and not everyone has earned the right to share them. People often misunderstand what protecting your energy really means. It's not about cutting everyone off or living in isolation. It's about discernment. It's about being aware of how certain people make you feel after spending time with them. Some people leave you drained, anxious, and second-guessing yourself. Others leave you feeling grounded, uplifted, and seen. The difference is energy. When you allow the wrong people too close, their chaos becomes yours. Their confusion seeps into your clarity. Their negativity starts shaping your mindset. Protecting your energy means knowing when to pull back before you lose your sense of self. Trying to keep someone else comfortable. We live in a world where overexposure is normal. Everyone shares everything. Emotions, opinions, private details, energy. But just because you can share doesn't mean you should. Oversharing gives people access to your vulnerabilities before they've proven they can handle them with care. Some people don't deserve your transparency. They use what you reveal against you. You think you're connecting, but you're actually feeding them information to manipulate or judge you later. Protecting your energy means knowing that not everyone who asks how you're doing truly cares. Some people are just curious. Some are collecting details. Some are only present when you're struggling because it makes them feel superior. Be wise enough to know the difference. You have to stop letting every person, situation, or opinion occupy space in your mind. Energy protection is mental hygiene. It's about clearing out what doesn't serve you before it clutters your inner peace. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't owe everyone a response. Silence is a powerful form of protection. The more you explain yourself to people who don't respect you, the more you deplete yourself. Some people misunderstand your boundaries as attitude. Let them. You don't need to shrink your standards just to make others feel comfortable. The people meant to walk with you will understand your limits and respect them. When you start valuing your energy, you'll notice who resists your boundaries the most. Those who benefited from your lack of them. These are the people who always expect you to be available, to say yes, to fix their mess. The moment you stop overextending, they call you distant, selfish, or changed. But that's not selfishness, that's growth. You cannot pour endlessly without running dry. Protecting your energy means realizing that your time, focus, and emotions are not community property. You don't need to explain why you're unavailable. You don't need to justify why you're resting, healing, or focusing on yourself. You have every right to prioritize peace over chaos. Sometimes protecting your energy looks like saying no. Even when you want to say yes, it looks like letting people be disappointed because you refuse to sacrifice your mental health for their comfort. It's realizing that you can't show up as your best self when you're constantly depleted. You cannot save everyone. You cannot be everything to everyone. And the truth is, you're not supposed to be. Your purpose isn't to be liked or to fix others. It's to live in alignment with who you truly are. Every time you stretch yourself too thin to meet others' expectations, you drift further away from your authenticity. Protecting your energy pulls you back to center. There will always be people who try to guilt trip you for choosing peace. They'll call you cold, detached, arrogant, anything to make you feel bad for no longer tolerating what drains you. But remember this, people who truly love you want you to be rested, not exhausted. They want your presence, not your performance. The ones who get offended by your boundaries were never seeking a relationship. They were seeking control. Let them fall away. The more you protect your energy, the more you'll attract people who respect it. Sometimes, protecting your energy means walking away quietly, not because you're angry, but because you're done explaining yourself. You can't convince someone to value your peace if they thrive in chaos. Some people only understand drama, and when you choose stillness, they'll try to pull you back into their storm. Don't go. Let them spin on their own. Protecting your energy is an act of emotional maturity. It's learning that peace is more important than proving a point. You also have to be mindful of where your energy goes daily. Who you talk to, what you watch, what you consume online. All of it impacts your energy. Negative conversations, toxic environments, endless scrolling, they all drain you in invisible ways. You start feeling tired, unmotivated, and disconnected, not realizing it's because you've let too much noise into your space. Protecting your energy means being intentional about what you feed your mind. Your peace requires discipline, the discipline to turn off, to log out, to say no. People with strong energy don't need to raise their voices or demand attention. They radiate calm authority because they guard their inner world fiercely. You can feel it when you're around them. They're centered, unbothered, in control. That kind of energy doesn't come from luck. It comes from boundaries. It comes from learning who deserves access and who doesn't. Not everyone gets to know you deeply. Not everyone deserves your trust. And that's okay. Your energy is sacred, and you get to decide who steps into your space. Protecting your energy is not about isolation. It's about elevation. When you stop giving your power to people who drain you, you create space for those who uplift you. When you stop trying to fix broken situations, you give energy to building better ones. It's about being selective with your time, your emotions, your presence, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to you. And that's not cruelty, that's wisdom. You've worked too hard on your peace to let anyone disrupt it. You've healed too much to let anyone reopen your wounds. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Your energy shapes your reality, your relationships, your success, and your happiness. Guard it, nurture it, and share it, only with those who've earned the privilege of being in your presence. That's not selfish. That's power. At some point, you have to stop apologizing for outgrowing the version of yourself that tolerated too much. Stop feeling guilty for becoming someone who no longer bends over backward to be liked, who no longer entertains disrespect, just to keep the peace, who no longer allows their kindness to be mistaken for weakness. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not rude. You're rooted. You've simply learned that being friendly without boundaries is a dangerous way to live. You see, life will teach you that not everyone deserves your softness. Some people only understand your worth once you pull it away. Some people will only respect you when you stop being overly available. When you start protecting your space, your peace, and your energy, the wrong people will fall away. And that's not a loss, that's divine protection. You will begin to see that your value doesn't lie in how much you give, how nice you are, or how many people like you. Your value lies in how deeply you know who you are and what you stand for. Being too friendly might make you liked, but it won't make you respected. It might make you popular, but it won't make you powerful. You were not created to be a people pleaser. You were created to walk in purpose, and purpose requires strength. The strength to say no, the strength to walk away, the strength to stand alone when necessary. The world doesn't need more agreeable people. It needs grounded ones. People who know how to be kind without being naive, generous without being used, humble without being invisible. There will come a time when your silence will speak louder than your friendliness ever could. When your boundaries will communicate your worth without a single word. That's when you'll understand you were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be respected by the right one. So stop watering relationships that only drain you. Stop giving access to people who haven't earned your presence. Stop being too friendly in a world that will take advantage of your softness if you let it. The goal isn't to harden your heart, it's to strengthen your spirit. Be kind, but stay firm. Be compassionate, but stay cautious. Be warm, but stay wise. Because at the end of the day, protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's sacred. And when you finally master that balance, when you can love deeply without losing yourself, that's when you become truly untouchable. That's when your presence carries power. That's when your kindness becomes strength. And that's when the world will finally see that you don't need to be everyone's friend. You just need to be your own protector. That's not just confidence. That's freedom.